Hey guys, welcome back. Today is going to be my final video of a series that I've been hosting here on the channel where I have been sharing all of our curriculum picks for the 2023-2024 school year. Today I'm going to be sharing all of the items that I'm going to be using for group subjects that we will be doing as a family during our morning time or morning basket time around the breakfast table each morning. Now, in case you're new around here, hi, my name is Sarah, and this fall I will be homeschooling all 5 of my kiddos. I will be homeschooling our preschooler, my kindergartner with special needs, 4th grader, a 9th grader, and a 10th grader. So that's right, preschool all the way on up to high school, covering all of our bases this year. So that's a lot to homeschool, and it's really overwhelming and tough to kind of think about what kind of subjects I can use that will entertain my preschooler, but also be challenging enough for my high schoolers. And so that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. I have all of this around me on the floor here, all of the items that I will be using with our morning basket time or our morning time. Now, in case you're interested in seeing all of our curriculum picks across all of the grades that we have used in our home, I actually have been revamping my website little by little the last few months, and I have a new section on my website where I list all of our curriculum picks through all of the years from preschool all the way through high school. They are all listed there, broken down by grade, by subject. So if you want more information about what I'm sharing today or any of the other videos that I've shared in this series, I would definitely point you to my website. Now, I don't have a morning basket, like a basket that I keep all of this in. I actually have a cabinet, a morning cabinet that I have in our kitchen, just this little white cabinet that I have next to our kitchen table. And that is where I house all of the things I'm going to share with you. Now, but before we jump in, I do want to kind of preface, I'm going to share a lot. I don't use everything every single day. This is just everything that I have at my fingertips, the feast that I have in front of me that I can pull from day in and day out. And so how I schedule this kind of changes from season to season throughout our school year. But I tend to try to do a loop schedule, but I'll get more into that in just a second. Let's just go right in. I'm gonna kind of categorize these in subject areas that, are kind of alike and make sense. All right, so first up is circle time or calendar time. This was something that I kind of previewed and mentioned in my preschool and kindergarten curriculum pick videos, but I'll share it again here. So one of my favorite products that we use in our school are Treasures from Jennifer boards. This is their wooden calendar that I invested in a few years ago. It has removable tiles and months and weather and holidays that you can change out these wooden coins. This is something my kids have just loved. They love making the calendar every month. They love turning the coins every day. So this is how I will be teaching calendar time, especially to my younger ones, and even reviewing it for my older ones. But we'll start off our morning time just talking about what day it is, what day of the week, what month it is, what day on the calendar it is. Now, we will then also be doing a weather time, a weather song. This is geared more towards my little ones, but my big kids don't mind. It takes like 15 seconds. But just singing what's the weather like today. And then I bought this spinner off of Rainbow Resource. This is like a big classroom poster that's laminated. I was hoping it would be heavy duty and last throughout the year for my kids. But we'll just talk about what the weather is like that day, look out the window, and then I'll have my little ones, pick whether it's snowy or rainy or stormy or cloudy. They can choose and spin the spinner. So that'll be calendar and weather, and then we will move into our Bible and devotional time. For as a family, we will be going through our 24 family ways. This is something we've been slowly but surely working through over the last year or two. We've really, really loved it. This is by Clay Clarkson, who is Sally Clarkson's husband. In case you aren't familiar with this book, I know that this is very popular in the homeschool world, so you've probably heard of it. This book has been great at holding attention of all of my kids, no matter how old they are. My little ones enjoy the pictures and just the very simple concepts in this book. For instance, one of the family ways is, We encourage one another using only words that build up and bless others. And you can see there's this really cute illustration. They even have some coloring pages you can copy and print out for your kiddos. So my little ones really enjoy just the simplicity of that. But then every week there are discussion guides, really good, like think about it questions, scripture to read, prayer prompts. This has just been a wonderful Bible study for our entire family, just to, spend 10 minutes together each morning, just being in the Word together and all being on the same page, studying the same thing. Now, as I mentioned in our individual grade level videos, that I have all of this linked below, but each one of my kids also does their own individual Bible study. They each have their own time in scripture in the morning outside of this time that we spend together around the table. So this is really just a supplement to what they're doing individually, just a way for our family to study the Word together. Once we complete our 24 family ways, I have a few items here that are options. I won't do every one of these every single day, but I'll pull one of these out. So for instance, each of my kids have just really simple composition notebooks, gratitude journals, where we will spend just a few minutes writing out a few things that we are thankful for. Yes, Mama, I even have my own. I participate in this. I have my own gratitude journal. I have Ann Voskamp to thank for that. I read her book several years ago, got in the habit of gratitude journaling, and I've never stopped. It's changed my life. Can't recommend it enough. Sorry, tangent, but my kids do have gratitude journals. My younger ones who maybe aren't able to write out words will just spend this time coloring in these books, making a little picture of something that they are thankful for. Obviously, Mama will go around and guide them and help them. But again, just taking 2 or 3 minutes to do this. Another option on days we're not doing gratitude journals is something I've had in my basement for several years now, and we just still have never gotten to. So I'm going to put it in my morning basket, my morning cabinet this year, in hopes that we will pick it up at least a few times. But it is the hymn study for family worship. This was put out by Demi Learning by Steve Demi, Matthew C. This is exactly what it sounds like. It is a hymn study that comes with music that you can listen to, and then the actual sheet music in here if you have a piano player or somebody in your house that would like to play this, or you can sing it together as a family or listen to it. And then there's also background information about each one of these hymns. So not sure that we would do this entire book, but maybe at least some of the hymns my kids are familiar with. I think it would be really great just to go and do a little deep dive study into those, listen to the music and talk about the composer and who wrote them and all of that. So hoping to get to hymn study a few times this year. And then the other option for Bible and devotions, this is something I picked up at the Homeschool Conference this spring. I'm super excited about it. This is called 100 Bible Verses Everyone Should Know, the Classics. And it's just a small guide that gives you exactly that, 100 Bible verses to memorize. I picked up the pack that is from the ESV version. As you can see, I still have it in cellophane. I haven't organized this yet, but it comes with little punch out cards that you can put in this little holder and kind of like flashcards. And so I just thought this would be really great. I might write our verse on the board every week. Maybe we'll have a verse of the week that we're working on. But this is just kind of nice to have a scripture memory guide for us to be working on as a family. After Bible and devotional time, we will move into our poetry and fable segment of our morning time. This is just when I spend just a couple of minutes reading poetry to my kids. And I have several books here that I'll share with you that I use as options. So again, this is one almost every homeschooler I think owns at this point. Sing a Song of Seasons, a nature poem for each day of the year. It just has a very simple short poem for every single day. So you can just turn to the day of the calendar that we just studied in our calendar time and circle time and read the poem for the day. Another book this is new to our homeschool, I just picked this one up, the Bill Martin Jr. Big Book of Poetry, and I'm really excited about this. I think my little ones in particular will really enjoy the illustrations in this book. Another one my little ones have really enjoyed is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, the poetry of Mr. Rogers. Now, we are huge Mr. Rogers fans in this house. My son, his room is even Mr. Rogers themed with Daniel Tiger, but just, we love Mr. Rogers. And so this book has been a hit. We've gone through it several times. It has a lot of the songs and different sayings and things that Mr. Rogers said on his television show in here, and just has beautiful illustrations to go along with it. So we will keep pulling from this and reading from this poetry book. I also have an additional poetry shelf down in the basement that I can pull from that has, Silverstein and Jack Perletsky and just a lot of those basic kids poetry books. A lot of those are more seasonal, so I'll pull those out throughout the year as I want to, but we'll spend just a couple of minutes reading a poem or two. And then I also like to, on days where we're not wanting to do poetry, I like to throw in a fable here and there. And so we have been reading through the unabridged version of Aesop's Fables, and my kids have really enjoyed this. It's just really fun. Some of them are a little quirky and weird. Some are really have a good lesson to them. So this has just been a fun book for my kids to do on days we're skipping poetry. All right, so the next section of our morning time is memory work. And this is something over the years my kids have kind of coined. We call it 5 minutes of flashcards. And so it will be different things, memory work that we're working on, and we'll just work on it together as a family for 5 minutes. So I allow my kids to bring things themselves to the table that they want to memorize or that they need to memorize for other subject areas. For instance, sometimes Noah and Leah will bring me science terms that they're needing to study for science, and they'll have them written on flashcards, and we'll go through definitions. Or Mariah is working on her times tables, so she'll bring me some math flashcards, and we'll go through for just a couple minutes with her and work on our times tables. So this is just a really fun time where, again, just using index cards, not anything fancy, index cards and markers, where my kids and I will spend 5 minutes in the morning just working on memory work. Now, one item that I am going to have available that I'm hoping to utilize with my kids this year, it's a big box here, sorry. These are timeline cards. Years and years ago, we were part of Classical Conversations and we memorized their timeline song, and I had purchased all of the timeline cards because I was a tutor. And so I really enjoyed this. My kids still can recollect the song pretty well. And since they are all studying world history this year, I thought that this would be fun every once in a while to go through and just kind of review our timeline song and go through the cards and work on making sure that we have that memorized. After that, this is when I start loop scheduling. I have several different options of studies that we can do, and I choose one of these to do every day: nature study, artist study, or composer study. Again, these are items that are just enriching in our homeschool. I love them and I want to intertwine them into what we're doing as a family. But if we only hit them once a week or even once every 2 weeks, that is totally fine. I just loop them in when we can. Okay, so first up is art study, my favorite. I wanted to be an art teacher. So the two items I'm utilizing for this most often are these Usborne famous painting cards. I've had these for several years now. As you can tell, I can barely even get the box shut anymore. But if you're not familiar with these, they are art cards that have 100 famous paintings on them. So let's just use this. This is Mariah's favorite, The Starry Night. So how I would utilize this is that I would just put this out and put it out for the table for the kids to look at, and we would set a timer and study the painting for 1 minute. Just really look at it quietly, take it in and look at it. On the back, I would then read all of the information about The Starry Night, about Vincent van Gogh. It just gives some very basic information about this painting. And then on days when we want to and we have time, we could then get out our art journals and spend some time recreating this painting, if we wanted to. Honestly, that's not something we get to as often as I would like, but that's an option that you could use these for. The other thing that I pull from for art study is, this is again from Usborne. I don't even know if this book is available anymore. I'm sure it's been updated. I've had it for, gosh, probably 10 years. The Usborne Book of Famous Artists. Here, my favorite, Monet. It just gives you this really, good information about him, who he was, the time period that he is working in, some of his most famous works. It just gives you a really nice overview of the artist. And so again, we could jump off from this and do art project to go along with this, or do a deep dive and study Monet more deeply, look up other paintings of his if we wanted to. It even has a nice little timeline here down at the bottom that kind of goes through his life. We could look up different events. This is just really, these cards and this book are just my jumping off point. I use it as a way to introduce my kids to artists, to paintings, and then we can jump in and do more study in it if we want to, or just leave it at that if they're not all that interested. But it's really nice exposure. Okay, and then next, another option for our study time could be composer study. And again, I have several books here to pull from. Can you tell? A lot of this is from Usborne, guys. I'm not a rep, but that's where I got a lot of this. This one is the Usborne Famous Composers Reference Book. And very much like the artist's book, it goes through and it gives you different composers. So for instance, Vivaldi. And it goes through and gives you really great illustrations and just some simple, basic, introductory level information about that composer. And then what I would do on the days that we study this is I would read this aloud to the kids, and then I would choose one of their pieces to play on our MP3 player or on our CD player or whatever on my phone. And we would spend a few minutes listening to this. Now, again, this is a great time that I can intertwine our gratitude journals, and they can sit and work on their gratitude journals while they're listening to this piece of music. Or maybe they wanted to draw in their art journals for a little bit and do something from the Starry Night that we studied the day before. They could sit and work on that while we listen to this music. Another book that I can pull from for this is The Story of the Orchestra. This comes with a CD. Again, I've had this for a long time. I hope if it's still available, I will link it down below. But this has 37 different pieces of music from composers. It's an hour worth of music, and it goes through, I love this because it's a great introduction not only to composers, but also to instruments. Again, this is just great exposure for my kids to learn about different instruments, see pictures of them, kind of just get a basic history of when they were invented and what kind of music they play, how they fit into the orchestra, where they sit, that kind of thing. So again, just another fun book that I can spend 5 minutes reading from and introduce them to composers, orchestra, classical music. Now, something I just happened to find just a couple days ago in the basement that I pulled out for my little ones, for Ezra and Ava, my preschooler and kindergartner. I like to have something for them to do with their hands while we're doing this. And so I found this sticker book for them of classical music that they could sit and work on while I'm reading about composers. I'm trying to remember if this is reusable stickers. These are not reusable stickers, but I'm sure Usborne has something out there. I'll look into it, but just a sticker book. I also have, from my CC days, I have all of the instruments printed out and laminated and put on popsicle sticks, and so that might be something fun for them to play with. I also, oh gosh, mamas, if you have little ones, you know, I do have a bin of musical instruments, little egg shakers and tambourines, that if I'm feeling really, really brave, I may get out every once in a while and let them play with while we're doing composer studies. Yeah, that's gonna be like a once or twice this year idea, but I'll try to do that. Okay, and then moving on to nature study, something I just love in our homeschool. Gosh, can you tell? I love all of these enrichment studies. That's why I put it in our morning time, is because I enjoy them as much as my kids do. But for nature study, I will be using this kind of as my core, as my guide for the year, exploring nature with children. I've had this for a while. It sat on my shelf and collected dust for a hot minute, but now I have it out and I've been just kind of using it as a reference, and it's been so helpful. If you're not familiar with this, it goes through the entire year and breaks up different nature concepts down on the calendar. So you'll have a caterpillar week, you'll have a leaves week, a harvest moon week, identifying trees, rocks, like just different items that it will go through and help you study. And so there are literature suggestions in here. I could go through and, you know, reserve a few books from the library. There is poetry that you can read aloud from. There are nature walk suggestions so that you could take a nature walk with your kids and collect items that you're studying that week. Again, This is not something we do religiously day in and day out. You could use this as your entire science curriculum if you wanted to. But this is just a guide for me. Now, I've done devoted videos to nature journaling. It's been a hit or miss area in our homeschool. We have had seasons where we have really utilized it and done a lot with it, and then we've had seasons where we haven't done much. I'm hoping to be a little more consistent with this year and just, hit it once a week if we can. So these are the nature journals that I prefer. I buy these off of Rainbow Resource. They are just small, like steno pad size, that are hardbound, and they have multimedia paper in them. They can be used for watercolors, for crayons, for pencils, anything. So my kids each have one of these. We've rotated through and even replaced them when need be. So my plan is to just read a little bit, use the Exploring Nature with Children as a guide for what we're going to do that day. Summer trees. Have my kids look out the window, find a summer tree outside and draw it. Or if the weather's nice and I'm feeling brave, send the kids outside with their nature journals for 15 minutes and let them draw summer trees. Now, I try to keep some other resources around, especially for the winter when we're inside and they just need some, spark some interest for their nature study. So a couple things I have that I've really loved is the Law's Guide to Nature Drawing and Journaling. Again, this is just a great reference book to give them ideas of what they could draw and how they could draw things in their nature journals. My older kids in particular really like this to do more detailed drawings. This was something I bought for Leah last year for Christmas or a birthday. Watercolor with Me in the Forest. She has really loved this book and uses this just for fun often. And then, of course, all the homeschoolers, we all have this, right? Nature Anatomy. This is another wonderful reference tool that I use for nature journaling. I actually have a friend of mine who is using this as the spine for their science. They have a whole study that goes along with it, and it's so awesome. So these are all great tools that you can use to do nature journaling with your kids, whether it's going to be the core of your science curriculum or whether you're like me and just want to throw it in once a week. All right, and then last but definitely not least, during our morning time is read aloud time. This is how I always end our group subjects, our time together around the table. You've probably seen this featured quite often in my day in the life vlogs and videos that I've posted on the channel before, but at the end of our morning time, I read aloud to the kids, and there's two different ways that I do this. First of all, I utilize our book baskets. I always keep a themed book basket in our living room all year round, just with different seasonal themed items in it. So right now, the book basket in our living room is full of summer themed books. So I will tell my little ones, each one, Ezra and Ava, my preschooler in kindergarten, go pick a book out of the book basket and bring it to mama. And each of them will pick a picture book and I will read that aloud to my kids. Yes, even my teens, they listen to the picture books. So for instance, I ran down and grabbed a couple of these. I might read Blueberries for Sal, or Herman the Helper, or My Blue Boat. So I would just pick two picture books and read them aloud. And then once I do the picture books, then we would move into our chapter book. Right now, we are almost done with Cheaper by the Dozen. And I don't know, I kind of want to recommend it, I kind of don't. I've really enjoyed this book. My kids have really enjoyed this book. There is some language in it. There are some things I've had to kind of skip over as I've been reading aloud to the kids, especially my little ones. But if you have a big family, you're probably going to relate to a lot of the things in this book and think it's funny. I would just be careful when you're reading this one. When we are done with this, we're going to start up the Penderwicks. I cannot believe we've been homeschooling this long and I've never read this book, never read it to the kids, but it's a Sarah Mackenzie recommendation, so I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. But this is our next read aloud that we're going to move into. Now, my trick up my sleeve for reading aloud to my kids is they love when I read aloud to them from chapter books, and I bribe my older kids by saying, I'll read aloud while you clean the kitchen. So they will clean up all the breakfast dishes, load the dishwasher, wipe the counters. I even have noticed them on certain days when they're really into a book and they don't want me to be at the end of the chapter yet. they will come up with other things that need cleaned in the kitchen. Oh, I'm gonna wipe the cabinets today. Oh, the inside of the microwave needs wiped out. They will come up with jobs to clean in the kitchen so that I will keep reading aloud. So that's my little trick. It's a bonus. My kitchen gets cleaned. They get to read books. I get to sit and drink coffee. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. All right, so let's just kind of go through. If you've made it this far in the video, congratulations, we're here, we're to the end. Let's go through real quick and I'll just kind of break down timing of how I do this and how long all of this lasts. So starting out with calendar time, again, that was doing our weather board and doing our treasures from Jennifer calendar. That'll take us maybe 1 or 2 minutes. I mean, not long at all. Next, I will spend 5, maybe 10 minutes doing our 24 family ways with the kids. And then if we're feeling up for it and we have time that day, I will throw in either their gratitude journals, scripture memory, or a hymn study. So all in all, the Bible section takes us about 15 minutes. So now we're up to 17. After that, we would move into our poetry time, where I will spend anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes reading poetry to the kids. And then we move into our 5 minutes of flashcards. And sometimes, yeah, I even use a timer and just time us and say 5 minutes, go. And we just speed through the flashcards. 5 minutes in our flashcards. And then we move into my section of morning time that I like to call our Charlotte Mason time. Just either a picture study, art study, or a composer study, or nature study. I will loop through. We will pick one of those to spend about 20-ish minutes on. And then last but not least, we move into read aloud time. And that is when I spend time reading 2, maybe 3 picture books to the kids, and then chapter books as long as it takes them to finish cleaning up the kitchen. Our read aloud time normally lasts, 15, 20, 30 minutes, just depends on how much time we have for the day and how antsy my little ones are getting. All right, and so, all of that adds up to anywhere from 1 hour to 90 minutes, an hour and a half. It never lasts longer than that. My little ones would not survive it if it did. Now, I do have some tips and tricks kind of up my sleeve that I use when my little ones need to pay attention or sit still. I can share some of those strategies with you guys if you're interested. I have special, quiet toys they can play with while I'm reading aloud. They help clean up the kitchen, have little jobs that they can do, art supplies and things that I keep at our table for them to use that they can only use during this time of day. I'm giving away all my secrets, aren't I? But anyways, if you're interested in more information about how to keep your little ones busy while you're trying to do morning basket time, let me know in the comments down below and I'll see if we can get into a video about that. But that is it, guys. That wraps up this year's curriculum pick videos. I can't believe it. So excited. So if you have not done so already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. I share lots of content like this about homeschooling, as well as what it is like to educate and home make and, just do everyday life in our big family. So hope you guys are having a great summer. See you later.